Thank you so much, blameF, for taking the time to have a catch-up with me. I first of all want to talk about your route to Flashpoint 3 through the closed qualifiers. We saw you managing to claim one of the 5 spots available in that tournament. So can you talk me through your kind of run throughout the closed qualifiers?
Yeah, I think we have had some problems with playing both open and closed qualifiers in the past. So it's, of course, always a little bit scary when you have to go through those. It's way more comfortable when you just get direct invited to the tournament, of course. But we had to go through the qualifiers, and that was fine. I think we didn't meet too many teams that was very overwhelming. So I think our way there was not easy. Like, we lost some maps here and there, but overall it was pretty comfortable. Ended up losing to Mousebots in the end 2-0. And we also won against them one of the other days, so we came through as the second spot. I think it was second seed. But yeah, overall I think we're just happy we went through. Honestly, it doesn't matter which place you go through, like, to get through the tournament, as long as you go through to the actual tournament. So that was like the main goal, and we achieved that. Even though we wanted to play a little bit better than we did, we're just happy that the main goal was achieved, I think.
I think something that was really impressive just looking at that run throughout the close qualifiers was Config's performance, because almost in every single match he was consistently putting up almost 30 frags per map, and it was absolutely insane to witness. So I'm wondering, from your perspective as the in-game leader, how do you kind of put Config in the best position to be succeeding? Because we know he's such a confidence-based player. Is there anything you do to kind of facilitate those crazy results from him?
Yeah, I always say the same to Config. I don't think anyone can take any achievement or anything like that from Config's performance. Like, when he's performing good, it's because he is playing good and he's a good player. So I don't want to say, like, when he's playing good, it's because he is a great guy and he puts in the work and all that. What we do, me and the coach, from a team perspective, is that we just make sure that he has like the roles he wants. Like, on CT side, he's always like a rotator or a second AWPer, which is what he would like to do, because then he has freedom to do what he wants to do, and he doesn't have to sit still and just hold angles, which is what he likes. He doesn't like to just hold angles, so he wants to move around. And then on T side, like, he'd actually be aggressive when he wants to be aggressive, but then when someone has to like go first, then he doesn't have to be that guy. He's like always like the second entry, so he can like trade frag. So yeah, we try to build his confidence a little bit in that way. But other than that, it's up to, like, it's his own achievement that he's playing very well. And I think also, it's nothing bad about some of the teams we played, but I do think that Config is way better individual player than pretty much every player we played against in that tournament. So it's just like you just don't have a chance when you're maybe a tier 2 or tier 3 teams playing against Config, because you cannot take aim duels against him, because he's just gonna win them all. So I think that shows a little bit more versus maybe the bad teams, when they try to duel people a little bit more, play a little bit less structured. Yeah.
And a couple of months ago, we saw you guys getting in a bootcamp facility for the first time and meeting JKS and playing with him for the first time as well. So can you walk me through that experience? What was that like for you guys as a team to finally be united together?
Yeah, I think that was long awaited. We had a lot of problems with the team because we had so many different. We had a period where we had so many stand-ins, like I think it was 3 or 4 different stand-ins in a row, and we didn't play with him in AWPer. And then Justin came in, and he was a new player, of course, so he had to be trying to get comfortable, and that's really hard when you keep playing with new players every tournament. So yeah, that was a very rough period, but we finally got us all in the bootcamp, and I think that was really helpful for the guys, because then you can actually meet each other and know how people react and stuff in real life, which is a lot different than what they might do online when they're sitting in front of their PCs at home. So yeah, just like, I think bootcamp is very helpful, but it's also very hard to organize and everything. We had one, like, I think our bootcamp in total was a little bit more than 3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks. Then I ended up getting stuck in Serbia because, like, my corona test didn't come back, and then I was alone in Serbia all of a sudden. So there's always like some complications with boot camps. So I think that's why all the teams just doesn't do it. It's not as easy as just meeting up somewhere. There's a lot of restrictions from different countries, and we're like an international team, so we come from different countries, all of us almost. So it's very hard to get everyone gathered in the same country. But we're looking into like trying to do that again soon, for sure. But it was a great experience, and it was nice meeting Justin as well.
Yeah, and considering, you say it's a difficult time to be getting together, totally understandable as well, being an international team too. Was there anything that you kind of focused on during that boot camp to make sure that when you went back to playing remotely again, not next to each other, that you still felt that kind of same synergy as a team? Was there anything that you were kind of learning to take away back from that?
I think, first of all, the problem was that right away when we came down there, we had officials after 1 or 2 days, so we didn't really get to practice down there. We only got to play officials down there, which it's nice, of course, but it's a little bit annoying that you don't get to like practice and fix all the mistakes together in the same room. Yeah, I think like we did a lot of talking. I think we did a lot of personal talking to get to know each other. We had like will have a sports psychologist to work with who's like helping us with having conversations with each other. We had a lot of one-on-ones across like everyone in the team, and like some 2-on-2s and 3-on-3s, like just everyone like that. So we just did a lot of talking, and I think that that's the biggest thing, that you need to be comfortable with the people. You need to actually like the people you're playing with, and I think that's hard. Not that you don't like them because you're playing online, but it's harder to understand a guy on a personal level if you only talk to him through TeamSpeak every day. So yeah, we just talked a lot down there and shared a bunch of stuff with each other, and I think that helped a lot to get a better team environment overall, which has translated hopefully like when we're coming back here as well.
Yeah, and touching on JKS as well, in terms of his kind of integration into the team, he's now been on the team for a number of months. Has how he's fit into the team kind of matched up with how you envisioned him kind of fitting in with the team as well? Can you talk to me about that in terms of your expectations of how JKS would fit in?
Yeah, I think he's fit in very well. I think there's two different things you have to take into aspect when you talk about like how he fits into the team. One thing is like position-wise, he fits pretty much perfect. Like right now, he's playing pretty much all the same positions as he was in his old team. I think it's more play style wise. He's not always like fitting in 100%, which we're doing our best hopefully to like. We're trying to make it work better every tournament, of course. But he's a very passive player. And then I'm also like, it's usually late round. He's a very passive player, and I also like to like late round be a very passive player. So we usually try to always be on the other side of the map of each other. So we have some maps where he might be the lurker, and some maps where I'm the lurker, and then usually the other guy who's not lurking is then going with the pack, and then he's gonna be the third entry kind of thing. So it's kind of like that's how it built up right now. So I don't think it's too like uncomfortable for Justin. Justin even said himself like he prefers a lot of the time to be in the pack because it sometimes can be a little bit easier as well when you're just the third guy going in. Just have to trade people. It's not too hard of a role. I think the biggest thing that might be why people say like they want Justin to perform better is because he's playing now with a team with 4 star players, and then like some people might not see it the same way, and some people might not understand that. But when you play with so many other people that's used to fragging as well, you're not just gonna come in and then be like, I'm like the best or like anything like that. Like honestly, Justin has had a really humble like way of going into the team. Like he's not saying like he needs to be the best in the world or he needs to be the best in the team or anything like that. He just wants to win. So that's why sometimes he might not look as good in 100 Thieves, statistically speaking, but that doesn't mean he's not doing good work for the team, you know. It just means that there's other people in the team as well that's like trying to like push themselves, like get a lot of frags, like trying to play aggressive or trying to make that play that's gonna make the difference. Whereas maybe in 100 Thieves he had a lot of players that gave him more space like that. But yeah, that's just not how it is in this team. We just have too many big profiles to have a play like that.
Yeah, there's only a certain amount of frags that can go round in a server as well. And I think it's an interesting point to bring up about poizon as well, because obviously we saw him reintegrating back into the team or coming off that medical leave. And sometimes people have been looking at him recently and going, oh, is he performing up to that level that we kind of used to see from poizon? But how do you kind of look at his role within the team? Is it a similar situation to JKS where it's potentially, you know, you've got like players like yourself, players like Config already taking up a lot of the frags on the server? How do you kind of view poizon at the moment and his role within the team?
Yeah, I think poizon is a very humble guy as well. I do think that Orbers always have like, I don't know what's like nice roles, nice position. You know, they're always like in the action. They have a lot of space to move around always. That's just how it is with all Orbers on pretty much every team. But I think the thing that makes poizon different is that he's like so aggressive in a lot of rounds where other Orbers might not be aggressive, that he's not trying to pad his stats or anything like that. He's just trying to like create this space for his team, and I think that helps a lot of other players. That helps me. That helps Config. That helps a lot of other players when he's just taking that initiative a lot of mid round and stuff. So yeah, I think poizon is just a guy. I can always count on him when we play officials. I can always count on him being the guy that's gonna do the stuff we need to do, or like run in when we need to do that, or throw the nade when we need to do that. He's a very versatile Orber in the sense that he can both be the aggressive guy, but he can also be the guy a little bit more passive, that's throwing nades and stuff. So he's very easy to work with in that sense. He's very open-minded, which is very nice for me as a caller to have a guy like that. Because if I just had 4 star players that all wanted to do exactly what they want to do every single round, then it's impossible to create a team around that. So yeah, I think it's just a little bit the same with him. Like, you cannot have 4 people playing good every single game. So sometimes Justin might play very good, and then poizon might not play good, and then sometimes I may play good, but Config is not playing good, and then there might be like 4 matches in a row where Config plays good and I don't play good. But in the end, it just has to work, like make it work out as a team, and then that's what we need to be judged on, not like who's getting the most kills or like whatever, because it doesn't matter. Like we're all sacrificing stuff for each other. So the most important thing is just to make the team work around so much firepower and around so many people with big personalities, I think.
And speaking of that team aspect, now that you guys have been together as a kind of that fixed core for a couple of months now, where have you seen the main developments, or where have you been focusing your energy as the in-game leader to be developing the team over the past couple of months?
I think a lot of it is like making people comfortable. I think we also have had a little bit problems at, like, not right now, but like at one point, like adapting to the meta. I think like the way people play Counter-Strike right now is a little bit looser and a little bit more explosive mid-rounds and all that kind of stuff. And I think we have had a little bit of problems trying to play an old style that might be a little bit slower and a little bit more like structured. But yeah, I think like a lot of the good teams right now are so explosive mid-rounds, and the individual players are taking so many decisions mid-rounds that I think we've been focusing a lot on individual players in the team being able to just make a call if they want to like make a call. So if someone sees an opening, it doesn't have to be me saying like you have to go here. Like an individual player can also say like there's an opening here, then we can like react off that. So talk a lot about reactions and talk about what each player can do in a round, other than just making new defaults all the time on new strats. We're trying to talk a lot more about every person's perspective of the round. What is his options mid round? What is his options late round? What is his options like early round? Like all of that stuff. Like so we all get comfortable and there's room for all of us in the team.
And looking forward as well, so far in 2021, we've seen you guys sort of floating between number 10 and number 15 in the world ranking. So is there any kind of main differences that you're looking to be making coming into the rest of this year to be consistently in the top 10 or potentially consistently in the top 5 as well?
Yeah, I think if you don't look at the first couple of months of the year where we play with stand-ins, or like the first month or whatever, I think we've been pretty much around top 10 the entire time, like 9, 10, 11 around there. I think that's like, it's not a bad spot to be in, to be around number 10, like just outside top 10 in the world. Like I can't just sit and be like, I'm really pissed about that, but I feel like everyone in the team wants to get better. Like we want to take the next step. Like we know we're not just gonna be instantly number 1 in the world or anything like that, but I think it's very important for us to show that we can get up to the same heights as the last lineup were. Like we peaked at top 5 in the world and we won a big tournament. I think it's important for everyone in the team to show that we're capable of the same. We can be up there and like maybe pressure Astralis a little or Heroic or Gambit, like all of those big and great teams right now. We want to actually be up and show that we can play against them and win against them, even when it's a semi-final or a final or something like that, and not just in a group stage match or that. So I think that's very important for us.
Well, speaking of your matches going forwards, of course, it's going to be big coming up as the first team at Flashpoint 3. And historically, you guys have kind of struggled to be taking them down. I was speaking to Tizian earlier, and he was saying he feels like you're a really good matchup for them. So in terms of your kind of history versus big, why do you feel like they've been a difficult team for you guys to silence?
It has just been, I think, like the map pool is a little bit uncomfortable for us because we never really had Dust 2 as our best map, and they always have Dust 2 as one of their best maps. So they usually just always pick Dust 2 against us, and we have had some close matches, but they definitely like win most of the time against us. And then we really like Mirage, but they also really like Mirage, so it's just a lot of time we're picking into their strength, but it's also kind of hard because sometimes we can be like, when you go into a map, like, do we want to pick a weak map for them that's also a little bit weaker map for us, or do we want to go with our strength? And a lot of time we have been going with our strength, which is like Mirage. So yeah. Of course, I'm not going to sit and say like what we're going to play against or anything like that, but maybe there's something we can change there or look at least. But yeah, I just think they're a really great team, and we have kind of similar map pool, and then yeah, they usually win. I don't know why. Like we usually like shit the bed a little bit against them. But yeah.
Kind of wanted to ask how you compare yourself with Tabson as well on the other side of the server, because obviously you're two in-game leaders with the potential to be fragging really high when you get in the server. So how do you kind of compare your approach to the game? Do you see any similarities or any differences between the two of you?
I think there's definitely like a lot of similarities in the sense that we play a lot of the same spots and roles and that kind of stuff, and I also see him lurking sometimes and all that, not to the extent that I do, but a little bit, yeah. I don't know how many similarities there is. I think we sometimes try to play the same style of Counter-Strike that they play. I think they represent a very beautiful way of playing Counter-Strike. Always when you can watch a demo of them, and they're always gonna have something cool to watch. And I think like we try at least to be a team that has a lot of innovative stuff, or have new stuff, or have like small tricks or like new strats every tournament. We try to be that team as well. So I think like in that sense there's some similarities. But yeah. So I guess there is some, but not. I think other thing is like with this exact same though.
Yeah, and in terms of the preparation, as you were saying, you're a team infamous for making sure you practice and prepare coming into matchups. And I'm wondering how that works now that you're sort of remote and playing from home. Do you get the other players involved? Is it a case of yourself doing it with external staff? Can you kind of walk me through your typical preparation for a game?
Yeah, we usually just let the players always just focus on themselves, so we don't really require them to do anything before match other than just warm up and all that, and then we have an analyst and a coach that does most of the anti-strat, and I'm usually helping a little bit if we're certain what maps we're playing. Then we're gonna have me and helping with those maps only, and then we just go through it before the match with the team. I think, but always like the strats and stuff, we always try to have a pocket strat or two in each tournament that can like catch people off guard a little bit. And that's usually me and the coach finding that beforehand, and then we just try to introduce it in these practice days we have. Like right now we have a week before the tournament starts to practice, and then usually we just try to go through as much new stuff in that week as possible.
And how are you viewing yourselves in comparison to the other competition coming into this, considering that, we have some of the biggest names in European CS at least coming into this competition? How do you kind of feel like yours going to stack up against the other teams?
I think Counter-Strike is honestly at a point right now where it's like everyone can beat everyone. I don't think there's been a match we got into in the last year where I'm kind of like, okay, we don't have a single chance to win this. Like it doesn't matter who we play or like how good they are recently, how bad we are recently or whatever. I think you always have a chance. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different IGLs right now, and it's hard to compare myself to every one of them, but I think I find a lot of inspiration from some of them. I think it's very nice that everyone is playing so many matches so I can watch demos of them all. So I might have some IGLs where I'm like, I think Nafani, for example, is a great example of a guy who creates a lot of space early round and mid round for his team with his map control. So I'm like very inspired by that. And Glaive, I'm usually watching if I want to see someone with a great understanding of mid-round calls or anything like that. So I just have like a couple of different things I like to watch from all of them and get inspired by. But yeah, I think there's so many great players out there that it's hard like to just focus on yourself. Like you need to like find some inspiration from the outside.
Well, Blame, absolute pleasure to get to catch up with you as always. Best of luck as we head into Flashpoint 3.
Thank you.